That first conversation with the coach after you're getting recruited is like shocking.
You're like no longer in recruitment mode?
We were at stadium steps. It was our first ever workout at Penn State. Franklin was nothing but amicable, nothing but kind to me. We get to stadium steps. I'm 37% body fat. I'm in dead last by a mile. Like, it's not even remotely close. My body's shutting down at this point. And Franklin is running the steps with me. This is how tired he has a coffee in hand, running the steps with me, and is talking crazy.
What's he say?
Hawk, you want to go back home, don't you? You don't want to be here anymore, do you, Hawk? Like, this is the first workout. And in my head, I'm like, you're damn straight I want to go home, brother. I don't want to be here at all right now.
Dude, I'm telling you what, man, losing the state championship my senior year in high school.
I would go back to high school and probably losing in the semifinals. I've never won a championship in my life. I'm a loser.
No championships for Adam
Brenneman. I'm not a winner. I've never won anywhere.
That's a crazy thing to admit on Instagram Live.
We were terrible at UMass.
Dude, we were slightly above average.
Yeah, we were above average. Story of my life.
It's not quite championship material.
All right, everybody. I'm Adam Brenneman. This is Christian Hackenberg. This is Aeneas Hawkins. Turn the volume down. And we are live on Instagram from the Mercury House. Penn State fans, ask us your questions in the comments. Let's talk about all things Penn State, Michigan. I mean, we have Christian Hackenberg here.
The great Christian Hackenberg.
It's tough to get Christian Hackenberg. I mean, he came on my podcast, but he hasn't talked that much to the media, to the fans. So would love to hear some questions for Hack. How you feeling? You're back in State College. What are you thinking?
No, it feels good to be home. We got a beautiful view of the stadium. We're sharing some good fellowship here tonight.
Yeah, man.
So, Hawk, it's good to see you, brother.
Great to see you, brother. I used to dream of days like this. Let me just
No
say,
doubt.
You got Christian Hackenberg and Adam Brenneman on the set with you, man. As a young recruit, as a young man, I would have never believed that this was going to happen, man.
Aeneas,
Yeah.
what was your first thing you ever heard about Christian Hackenberg?
Oh, man, that's a great question. My D-line coach was a D-line coach with the Jets.
Uh-huh.
So Coach Scott,
yeah.
he came into town trying to make mutual connections, trying to win the room over. And he came in bragging to us about how he knew Christian Hackenberg and blah, blah, blah. Now, he didn't understand that none of us got to play with Christian Hackenberg.
You're like, who is that?
Obviously, we knew who Hack was, but none of us knew him. But that was like the first time I remember hearing somebody around me mention Hack. When I was a kid, I watched him play against Ohio State. And I didn't like Ohio State. They went to double overtime. They almost beat them. Yeah. So I was fired up watching that. It's the first time I remember seeing Christian Hackenberg.
What was the first thing you heard about me?
Man.
Be careful.
Yeah, I got to be real careful here. This is a PG live, man. No, I had heard about you before, once you started doing the content specifically. Like, I had seen that. I remember you were at Arizona State, so I heard about that. Zach Kuntz actually is the one that told me about you.
There's a long story there.
Okay, so at the retreat, Zach Kuntz told me about you. That was the first time I remember hearing your name, man. Yeah, that was a while ago.
It's funny. It's a good time. Do we have any questions from the fans? I'm concerned it's not working.
Adam, maybe you just don't have the juice you think you have.
Can someone just comment something so we know it's working?
Back with the whiskey is killing me.
Comment?
It's great. I had a long drive in, so, I figured a little relaxation was necessary.
And the stateside.
The stateside.
Mercury House, sponsored by Stateside. Thank you, Stateside, for throwing in the bread.
Shout out Stateside.
That is correct.
Any questions, Noah?
Hack, why did you have to come back and beat RU in 2014?
Well, I mean, we're trying to win the game, guy. But yeah,
guy.
or I don't necessarily know guy, gal, whomever. But I mean, Rutgers did hype that game up a little bit more than.
What year was this?
It was 2014. It was their first year in the Big Ten.
That's right. Yeah.
I will say this though. One of the rowdier environments I ever played in.
Yeah, tough place.
Piscataway?
Piscataway.
Really?
We had
him in Piscataway.
Dude,
Hawk,
we had their first game in the Big Ten, first Big Ten conference game under the lights in Piscataway. And I live in Jersey now, so I got to be careful. I don't need any hits or anything like that coming at me. But, dude, it was rough sledding for the Penn State folks. There's some questionable things happening outside of the stadium regarding
like what?
the scandal and all that
yeah.
stuff.
Oh, okay.
But it was quite an environment. I'll tell you what, it was hard to operate.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had to come back and beat them, and I was happy. My boy Billy Belton, who was a New Jersey native, got to score the game-winning touchdown. Yeah, we had to do what we had to do.
Hack, another one for you.
Wow.
Is it harder to be a dad to a new baby or a D1 QB?
That's a good question.
Great
That's a really
That's a
good
great
question.
question.
I like that.
They present similar challenges. You gotta bring the others around you better. You gotta make the others around you better. My wife's a superstar, so she helps a lot with
She
that.
really is. I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, my wife is a superstar. As everyone says, the goal is to outkick your coverage.
You certainly did that.
Hey, we got to do sometimes.
So did Aeneas.
But
no doubt. Yeah. Completely fair.
Yeah.
That's the third time already
That's the
tonight.
third comment I've made.
But they're both extremely rewarding. I
Yeah.
will say that. I got my 6-month-old. He's a riot. He's starting to recognize things, and he's mobile now. He's crawling a little bit, so I got to watch the edges in the house.
Blaze.
No, Hayes.
Hayes.
We're just kind of friends. Yeah, that's my middle name.
That's insane
But,
that you didn't know his son's name. That's
I knew
wild.
I'm not trying to
I-
release my son's
I made a
government
mistake.
name on IG Live here, but yeah,
Now the world
I
knows
made a
too.
mistake.
But
it's one of the
it's-
worst.
that's a guy who obviously doesn't have a kid yet, so it's okay.
I was close.
You were close.
I knew it was close.
It rhymes,
Yeah.
kind of.
And it was your middle name. I just mixed it up.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that big on like the juniors and all that stuff.
Yeah. Anything else,
Yeah.
Noah?
What's the biggest struggle for a high school athlete transitioning over to college? It's a group question.
Aeneas?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a lot of things that high school kids struggle with. I say if you're talented enough to come to Penn State, you got a lot of juice. You probably haven't played anybody or played alongside people who were just as talented as you. Me and Devon Elise just talked about this. But not knowing how to work and thinking you know how to work,
So true.
that first 6 months is like shock and awe. And you're like, you just are in a panic and a frenzy a little bit. So it can be tough to get your wheels turning that way. That'd be my answer.
There is nothing like lifting on a big lift day in the
Yeah.
weight room with a football team. Like,
With a bunch of grown
with
men.
a bunch of grown men.
Grown men.
With, like, the way you lift in those environments, even when you're done playing, you never will lift like that again.
Never again.
I always try to tell like the guys that I lift with that, like I talk about how we used to lift at Penn State, like
Uh-huh.
when you go like rack to rack and everyone's watching you max out on like
it's the
bench
best.
press. You never remember those
chalk slaps.
Remember how sore you are after the first squat day of
Oh,
the
my
new cycle?
goodness.
Dude, you can't even walk for days.
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
There's nothing that compares to that.
I will say, Hawk, you bring up a good point though. You go from like a big fish in a little pond to
Yep.
now like a big fish in a school of big fish.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that takes some adjustment if you haven't been in an environment where maybe that pond wasn't so big in high
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're not in an environment where you're playing at a McDonough like Devon and you're playing consistent Division I talent and stuff like that, that's a challenge of just like rising to the occasion and realizing that, you were the guy that everyone looked at, but when you come here, you got to earn your stripes because
Yeah.
everyone was that dude.
True.
I think that's the biggest thing. Adam can probably attest to that the most. I think Coach O'Brien reminded you quite a few times about
I remember our very first meeting. You weren't even on
no,
campus
because
yet.
you early
I
enrolled
enrolled
'cause you were
early.
big time.
I enrolled early, and we're sitting in the team meeting. It's first like where they introduce the early enrollees of the team, and we're sitting there and we're talking about it's January, so we're like getting ready. You talk about the first game of the season. Ours was against Syracuse,
Okay.
and we're O'Brien just starts talking, and he's like talking, and then he flips a switch, and he's like, "Brenneman, do you think Syracuse cares how many stars you have?" He's like, "No one cares that you were a 5-star anymore. I don't care. No one in this room cares." And he just starts like attacking me for everybody. I'm like, I want to go home and cry. I was like,
It's a bad feeling.
we just recruited the heck out of me for 2 years. He was like told me
Yeah.
how great I was.
That first conversation with the coach after you're getting recruited
Oh,
is like shocking.
you're like no longer in recruitment mode.
Yeah, no longer recruitment. I think we were at Stadium Steps. It was our first ever workout at Penn State. Franklin was nothing but amicable, nothing but kind to me. We get to Stadium Steps. I'm 37% body fat. I'm in dead last by a mile. Like, it's not even remotely close. My body's shutting down at this point. And Franklin is running the steps with me. This is how tired I am. He has a coffee in hand, running the steps with me and is talking crazy.
What's he say?
Hawk, you want to go back home, don't you? You don't want to be here anymore, do you, Hawk? Like, this is the first workout. And in my head, I'm like, you're damn straight I want to go home, brother. I don't want to be here at all right now. But yeah, it can be a little shocking when you get here.
So good.
Couple questions over here. Has Adam ever thought about going back to football, or is it over?
Is it over, Adam?
It's over. It is over.
Hold on. Can we clarify back to football in what sense?
I'm assuming he means playing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is he saying because I look like I'm in playing shape? Is that what he means?
I mean, you're definitely
good,
not in
man.
playing
Yeah.
shape. We had a wrestling video today, right? Where you let me whoop your ass before
Yeah.
you even.
I did see that video.
My knee is not good enough for football anymore. Good question.
Kind.
What's the bourbon of choice?
We're drinking Michter's tonight, but I'm a Blanton's guy and kind of that line. But yeah,
He's such a dad.
He can't help himself.
Yeah, I am a dad.
Like, literally.
I am literally a father.
Oh boy.
Question for all three of you. If it wasn't Penn State during recruitment, where would
Great
you guys
question.
go?
Great question. Let me ask you
So first answer, I loved USC, Southern Cal. I was ready to commit after one visit. My mom started crying, so I kind of X'd that out. But
Clay Helton?
Clay Helton, yep, he was a head coach. And I will say, the University of Cincinnati, my dad played there. He got drafted there. My mom was an athlete there. Luke Fickell had just gotten there. I loved everything about Cincinnati. Yeah. I wanted to go. I grew up a UC fan, and I actually called my dad to commit to UC. I was down in Cincinnati and Penn State. I'm like, Dad, I'm going to Cincinnati. He said, you're a jackass and you're going to Penn State. I said, okay. And I ended up going to Penn State, yeah.
No, I'm looking at you, dude.
I think I probably would have went to Maryland
Really?
if I didn't go to Penn State. Maryland or Ohio State.
Randy Edsel?
Randy Edsel. Dude, they told me I was going to win the Heisman at tight end. And you know me.
And you
Right.
I believed
You're
every
going with all of it.
I was like, I'm going to win the damn Heisman. It's funny. I remember leaving Boston College. They were my first offer. Leaving Boston College, so fired up I got an offer, and telling my family I was going to commit to Boston College. And my dad being like, let's just take a couple more visits.
Slow down.
You know that? Remember that like visit high?
You were kind of a knee-jerk reaction guy?
I was a big knee-jerk reaction guy. Yeah, I like roll on emotions.
I was pretty much signed, sealed, delivered to Alabama. I had Jimmy McElwain was down there at the.
Well, I didn't know this.
You did know this. He was the OC, and then Mike Groh, who played at the University of Virginia. I grew up just outside of Charlottesville. My dad played at the University of Virginia. Mike Groh was recruiting me from Alabama, and I was a Roll Tide guy pretty hard.
How did Saban take it when you didn't go?
I didn't call Saban. I called Mike, and Mike, he gave me a little. The guy that gave it me the most who was also on my finalist list ish was G.A. Mangus at South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, GA cussed me out for about 25 minutes. I'll never forget it. My dad made me call all the schools that I was close with and tell them that I was going to Penn State and, not burn a bridge. And GA cussed me out for a solid 25 minutes. And I literally had the phone on speakerphone, and my dad was sitting directly across from me at my dining room table and was like laughing his ass off. And then GA takes a deep breath at the end of this. So literally, I'm just like in shock and awe. I'm 17 years old. Like, what just happened? And GA was like, well, kid, if you change your mind, make sure you call me first. I was like, all right. And then I hear click. Like, didn't even get a chance to finish the conversation. But yeah, I was.
GA was the man. I love GA.
GA was the man. He's a sensible
He came to
PA
see
guy.
a couple times. I remember when the sanctions came out at Penn State, we were committed. And me, Hack, Garrett Sickles, a bunch of those guys, getting on a phone call and trying to figure out what other school we could all go to together.
Oh, wow.
And I remember
that, yeah.
Florida was the one we were
Florida
talking
and
about.
Tennessee.
Florida and Tennessee. We were like, who offered all of us that would take all of us?
Right.
And it was like 5 of us maybe at that time, and we all had Florida offers. And it was it Muschamp? Will Muschamp was that good?
I believe so. Yeah.
And we were like, let's just go to Florida. And then Bill O'Brien was like, before you do anything, come back to State College.
Yeah.
and that's what we decided to say.
Yep.
Anything else?
Another good one here. Which coach has made the biggest impact on your life as an athlete and as a man?
These are great questions.
These are great
We
questions.
got the fans engaged now on the Tailgate Live.
Well,
Yeah.
It's Hack's
It's okay.
There you go.
I got one after that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll answer that quick and easy. With all due respect to every coach I've ever had in my life, my high school coach, Mickey Sullivan.
Mickey.
Yeah, he was at the Under Armour All-American game with you and
Yeah.
me. By far, the biggest impact as a man. And I always put the football side on kind of the back burner. Mickey, to this day, was like a grandfather to me. So
You go.
I'm going to go
yeah,
pretty easily. Chuck Losey, head strength coach of Penn State football. There were so many times, especially the back half of my career, when like I've had all these surgeries and I'm like not the same anymore. And I mean, there were so many times I could have checked out, and a lot of coaches would have let me check out. And walking into that weight room, seeing that mustache, him being in my ear. I mean, there's so many things I did weight room wise I never thought were possible because Chuck Losey. I was so scared to let him down. That's definitely, I still to this day get text at 5 a.m. from the psycho of a man himself. But
I remember being so scared of Chuck Losey. He was an assistant when we were there. I was deathly afraid of Chuck
whenever
Losey.
he had
He's
your
scary.
row during the cycle.
Oh, when he had our row, dude, I would cry. I wanted like little D's to have our row. And Chuck Losey would come over and he would just be like, let him in here. He would just come out.
Interruption. Hack, your wife is calling.
My wife will get a call back promptly after this.
Tell her that you'll call
Can
her.
you tell her to join the live? I would say probably biggest impact would be Mark Whipple, who I played for at UMass for 2 years.
Yep.
Really like took a chance on me after I retired and barely could run and brought me to UMass and threw me the ball like 100 times a year. So
Yep.
that would probably be and dude, when I went to those are the things that people don't realize, like the relationships you have after playing.
Yeah.
Then when I went to coach at Arizona State, I moved out there on a whim. Coach Whipple had a house in Arizona. I stayed at his house for
Awesome.
a few months, and like those relationships are awesome. So I would definitely say Mike Whipple had the biggest impact and changed my trajectory of my career.
Hack, take us through the deep ball to A-Rob versus Michigan, 2013. Play call. What was going through your mind pre-snap, etc.
10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I do remember it. I believe we were in a 2x2. We had been hot the whole time. We went 66 all go, completely predetermined because Allen made a hell of a catch to start the drive on that comeback, and no one talks about that, but that was probably the best catch of the entire drive. And then I was on a heater because I had no business completing the ball to Brandon Mosby-Felder on the go route in cover 2. I threw a hole shot up the right sideline to that. So I was like, hey, man, like it was total roulette. Like I'm like, I got the hot hand right now. And I was like, I'm just going to stare this safety down, hold him down because I knew they were going to be in a cover 2 shell. And hopefully he stays, and he did. And I knew Allen was going to be the corner was going to continue to get depth with him and just gave him a shot. So fortunately, I didn't throw it 5 yards out of bounds. And fortunately, Allen had a 47-inch vertical.
He was so good.
So good.
Dude, looking back on that play, that was one of the bigger program-defining
for
plays
sure.
of the last couple of decades of Penn State.
I thought he scored, and I'll never forget it. Bill was screaming at me, "Get on the ball!" And I like the whole stadium's in pandemonium. I can't hear anything. He's cussing me out, and I don't know what just happened because I thought I just threw the game-tying touchdown. But yeah, fortunately we were able to get a quarterback sneak in there before the whole tush push and got it done.
Pre-tush push.
Yeah, pre-tush push, quarterback sneak.
Man.
Hot topic right now: sign stealing. Is it a part of the game or is it frowned upon?
I mean, I know personally, I think it's a part of the game, sign stealing, when you're in the game.
Yeah.
Now, my issue with this, and again, there's a lot to be uncovered yet. If it's premeditated and you're actually forward scouting, now you're talking the integrity of the game. And to me, I'm a big believer in the football gods and the integrity of the game and doing it the right way. And I have a problem with that if that's the case. Now, again, I'm speaking in completely hypotheticals here. We got to see the hard evidence, but that's my take on it. But I know personally in the league and through my career, stealing signs while you were on the sidelines, if you weren't playing or whatever, was completely something that everyone does. I mean, you think about baseball, you're going through indicators and all this stuff. Like, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's just part of trying to gain a competitive advantage. But if you're doing it in a forward scouting manner, I think that there's, again, you're messing with the integrity of the game, and that's where I have a problem with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, every program in the country has a guy that steals signals. We had one at ASU. But again, like you said, it's during the game, or it's what you can see on film, what you can see, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's all. I mean, even as a quarterback,
everyone does that. Yeah.
But even as a quarterback, like I know if I was changing. Perfect example is the Wisconsin game. Like Chris Borland, that's why I have so much respect for him. Like, if I made a check in the first quarter, like, he remembered the words and how I did it and the hand signals and stuff like that. So, like, it's all part of a competitive advantage. That's the game within the game, where now I was sitting there in between drives going, okay, I may go, I may say, silver sword instead of gold sword, gold being the hot word, to try to throw him off a little bit and think it's zone right and then end up running zone left or something like that. But
and we would know the defensive signals sometimes too, from like empty check and like what they were checking to in a lot of different situations. So
the hand check cover too.
At the end of the day, my thought on Michigan is that, number one, it's going to be really hard for Jim Harbaugh to say he didn't know what was going on. If he didn't know, that's like purposeful ignorance, in my opinion. Like, he had to know something, and that's his job to know. But I also think that no punishment should happen until the investigation is over and runs its course. When Ole Miss got in trouble, when ASU got in trouble, when Tennessee got in trouble, punishments didn't happen until they actually got the investigation over with. So I think if they suspend Jim Harbaugh, like they're saying they're going to, before we really know everything that happened, I think that's a little premature and a little bit of a rush to judgment by the media, which we saw a lot at Penn State.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. I was listening to First Take this morning, and Stephen A. Smith was saying how they need to ban them from the playoffs and suspend everybody. You don't want to penalize those kids, because at the end of the day, even if they did have some type of understanding of what was going on, they're just listening to their coaches who are getting paid millions and millions of dollars.
Well, they're the adults in the situation.
Right? They're the adults in the situation. Exactly. Yeah. So I would say that. I would also say, to a different point, you mentioned people, naturally, competing, trying to figure out signs, calls. Some of the best players I played with. I mean, one of the defining factors, P.J. Mustipher is a guy I'll throw out there. It would take him one drive. He'd be on the field. He'd be listening to the quarterback. He'd be listening to the center talking to his guys. And he'd come back with 5, 6, 7 different calls he had picked up on. That, I mean, numerous times I can account his figuring out those signals leading to victory or leading to the defense playing better. It was impressive to watch.
Yeah, pass pro to run pro, identifications,
all of it.
That
they're going they're going on 2. There's a stretch, whatever it may be. Picking up on those things happens all the time, even at the college level.
I will say that Connor Stallions dude is hilarious. This guy that did the whole thing.
Well, no, listen, I've seen some stuff now. This is like I saw someone say it, ESPN 30 for 30 stuff, dude. Like, this is going to be nuts.
This is going to be a great...
I kind of respect the guy. I mean, dude.
Most interesting man in the world.
The Michigan Manifesto, the 500-page document.
Get that guy a Dos
U.S. Marines. Thank you for your service, Connor Stallions.
Yeah.
Man.
I will not discredit that.
I agree, though. No way that Harbaugh had no idea that any of it was going on.
And it's your job to know.
It's your job to know. You get paid the big bucks to know. Connor Stallions is not going out on his own volition and doing all of these things.
$50,000 a year.
No shot.
Yeah.
You're the CEO, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What do we got? Noah?
If you guys could play with any player from the past, which player would it be?
Penn State specific?
Well,
Penn State.
I would have liked a better quarterback, so I'd probably...
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
I'm just kidding. That was
That's nuts.
Wow.
That was crazy.
Wow. That was nuts.
If I could play with any player.
Dang, bro. I mean, I love the defensive guys that brought the juice. So, I didn't get a chance to play with Marty. I would have loved to play with Marty. Would have loved to have played with Paul Postlesny. My little brother, Adam, he was a linebacker. He chose the baseball route, and it's working out for him. Good for him. But, those two guys off the top of my head. Then if you want to go throwback, I got maybe some guys.
Yeah, I was going to say the linebackers. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Maldy's a great one because we know him too, and just the dude really laid the foundation for when we went there. Like, I remember being in the locker room with him after 2012 Wisconsin game. You and I were down there, and coming up to us when we were committed and being like, "This is like don't screw this up. This
Yeah,
is your
pretty
torch
much.
next year.
Yeah.
Him, LeVar.
LeVar.
You know, so many. Sean Lee, who's here this weekend. I'm trying to get him to come through for a podcast. Mike Hall. I mean, I played with Mike Hall. But like all those great linebackers, I'm just thinking of those guys. Those would be who I'd say.
I played with Micah Parsons, and Micah, obviously, league of his own, talent-wise. From the day, I mean, we talk about freshmen coming in and having a learning curve. Micah Parsons had zero learning curve. He was better than everybody on day one. wasn't even competitive. But Saquon Barkley, I missed by a year.
Yeah, 2-6 was like that.
And
too,
people
though,
say that play with Micah and Saquon that Micah was special, but 2-6 at his best was at a different level. So I would have loved to see what that was like in person.
You know who else? Tamba Ali.
Tamba's another one.
I love him.
Another great one.
Yeah, like we're so fortunate that we played with a program with such deep tradition.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many guys you could put on that list.
Who was your favorite quarterback growing up? Penn State quarterback.
Penn State quarterback.
Well, you followed Penn State.
I followed Penn State. I mean, I wasn't like a diehard. My little brother Adam, who was one who was a big Posluszny fan, was the Penn State guy. But that was like the M-Rob and Daryl Clark years were kind of like, and I loved Michael Robinson. Like, I respected him as a player. I mean, like
fullback in the NFL.
My favorite, like, I'll make a weird confession here. Like, my favorite quarterback growing up was Brady Quinn. Weirdly enough.
That's cool.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
Why
had a
Brady Quinn
jersey? I don't know, man. I just bought into it. Like, liked it. Like, I just thought he was kind of like the type of guy I wanted to be, type of thing. Like buttoned up,
cool dude.
Throw the ball around the yard.
Hell yeah.
Drink some beers.
Lit it up. I don't know if Brady Quinn does. Maybe he does. I would assume so.
I would assume so.
Yeah,
you would think so. Yeah.
What about you? Who was your favorite player?
A favorite player growing up. So my dad and uncle both play in the NFL, so I loved them. But I will say my dad was with the Patriots, and I was like just old enough to realize the significance of playing for the New England Patriots in the early 2000s. And Tom Brady would go out of his way. Every Tuesday I would go to the facility with my dad. He would come sit down in the locker next to me. We'd have conversations like we were homeboys. He signed my hat. Tom Brady, like by a landslide as a kid, was like the guy. Like so much so that in 2012 when they lost the Super Bowl, when they were undefeated and all that, I'm like 11. Like I started crying. Like I was like, it was like I lost the Super Bowl. It was that serious.
You just low key dropped that you and Tom Brady are boys. Is that right?
We were boys. We were boys. Tom Brady
just kind of slid that in there. Like.
I was 5, but it was lit. It was really cool. Yeah.
Any other good ones? Any good questions?
What was the hardest loss each of you guys have had throughout your football career?
Oh, that's a good question.
Throughout my football career?
Yeah.
So I would assume this. Dude, I'm telling you what, man, losing the state championship my senior year in high school. I'll say this still
pisses you off a little bit.
I won it my sophomore year, and to answer a previous question, Mickey Sullivan, I knew he was retiring after my senior year, and he had been at Fork Union for 40 some odd years. Coached Eddie George in high school, like been through a lot of really good players, and that would have been number 10 for him. And I wanted to get him in double digits. Yeah. And we didn't get it done. So that one killed me. And then I guess college-wise, like that Temple game sucked.
How many times did you get sacked?
I don't know.
Like 15?
It was enough. It was enough to not win. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But my two toughest, so college, I mean, we played Illinois, and we went to 9 overtimes and lost. And that was like an out-of-body. I mean, I've never seen that level of disappointment unanimously amongst the sideline. That was humbling.
I'll tell you what, man, that 2-point, the 2-point conversions for overtime is bullshit.
I love it.
You love it?
I love it.
We did not love it.
Out,
I think it's so cool.
They might have ran the ball 72 times in that football game. We could not stop them. They brought, it was bad.
Brett Bielema.
Oh, my goodness. They beat us. That was bad. But I will say, you talk about high school. My junior year, we were a 500 team. But we had, according to USA Today, it was the second toughest schedule in the country. So, like, we still had enough points. If we just won our last game, we go to the playoffs, we're probably going to do really well in the state of Ohio. We lost to the number 6 team in the country, St. Edwards. And the way we lost is 3rd and 11. We're about to get them off the field. I'm hooping. I'm having a great game. And they keep giving this dive off. The quarterback had not pulled it one time. I crash this dive, and this
Oh,
quarterback pulls it and is looking right at me, converts the first down. We don't go to the playoffs. Now I'm the supervillain at my high school until senior year. So
I mean, I would go back to high school and probably losing in the semifinals. I've never won a championship in my life.
that's funny.
I'm a loser.
No championships for
I'm
Adam
just not a
Brenneman.
winner. I'm not a winner. I've never won anywhere.
That's a crazy thing to admit on Instagram Live.
We were terrible at UMass. We were terrible when I was at Penn State. Not terrible, but we couldn't play in bowl
Dude,
games.
we were slightly above average.
Yeah, we were
dude.
above average. And then
That's a
high
great
school-
lane to live
high
in.
school, we were slightly above average. Story of my life.
It's not quite championship material. Do you feel like, okay, so with it being at every level, at what point do you start looking in the mirror when you wake up? And it's
At
like,
what point do you point
maybe
the
it's
finger?
right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm a bad leader. That's a good question.
it's frustrating, man.
Frustrating. Yeah. Anything else?
Oh my gosh.
All right, let's do a couple more here. And then
That's
wrap it up.
fantastic.
If you could add or remove one rule in college football, what would it be?
The hash marks.
What are you talking about, the hash marks?
The hash marks should be NFL hash marks in college football.
That's a good point.
The game has changed so
The
much.
game does change drastically.
And the hash marks being as wide as they are impact the offenses a ton. And the NFL changed. College should change as well.
That's actually a good one, dude. I'm stumped there. That's fantastic by you.
Thanks, man.
That's a really good question.
No,
You were
it really
prepared.
is. Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have anything.
Nothing?
I really don't. I mean, well, I guess just
feet
because
in
my
bounds in college?
just because my slander, the overtime rule, man. Go back to throwback, dude. I want to
Yeah.
see. I want to see these guys move the football.
Throwback overtime rules were the best. I
Yeah.
agree. I
I want
love
to see
it.
these guys move the football. I'm cool with the 2-point conversion after what was it, 2 overtimes or 3
That's what it is
overtimes?
now, yeah.
No, I'm saying like you had to go for 2. You couldn't kick the extra point.
Not just like competing 2-point conversions.
Right.
I called a game.
But I still want to move the ball.
I called
Yeah.
the Akron Indiana game this year, which went to like 5 overtimes. Fun game to call, but
Yeah.
you're just calling 2-point conversions.
Right.
back and
Yeah, I
forth.
mean, it's just it's
Wow.
you know, I mean,
It's a lot, man.
I still think that there's because I mean, we played in the 4 overtime game against Michigan, and like just mentally draining.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's an aspect of that. Like anyone can get dumb lucky at some point in time.
Yeah.
I feel like the ability to have the mental fortitude throughout the entirety of the process. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah. I would say if I had to pick one, and it's easy to say it from the couch now, not having to do it, but the fair catch rule on kickoffs.
Oh, yeah.
I love watching kickoffs. I love watching kids get knocked out on kickoffs.
Yeah.
And I get why you got to have the fair catch rule and try to eliminate some of that.
Protect the
But
players.
protect the players, all about it. But as a fan,
Yeah.
definitely miss watching some more kickoffs.
Yeah.
One more question. What do we got? Anything good?
Let's end on this. This is just my question.
Oh,
Why are you guys back here this weekend, and why is the school special to you?
Oh wow.
wow. That's a great question.
You're such
Ben,
a sweetheart.
It's really
you're-
heartfelt.
You're killing it, dude.
I mean, why?
Come on.
It's a great one.
Hawk.
Man, I'll tell you what. You asked why I'm back. Obviously, you see where we're at right now. Beautiful content house, beautiful team that we're a part of here. So that's number one. Huge game this weekend, Penn State, Michigan. I think the boys find a way to get it done. I think people are sleeping on them. Plenty of talent. They learned their lessons at Ohio State, and they're going to come back confident. You asked me what the school means to me. I mean, I've said it on my podcast before. Went from having 40 scholarship offers to having a bunch of surgeries and none of my football dreams coming true. They kept me in the building. They made me an important part of the team, and I got to live out my dream those last 4 years one way or another. So I'm eternally grateful to this place. This is home. When I come back here, man, immediately my life gets better. So that's my answer there.
Man, I couldn't say it any better myself. I feel the same way. I mean, I'm similar situation of I had 40 scholarship offers, every school in the country, came here, didn't go well, went well sometimes, but for the most part didn't, transferred, went somewhere else, and this place still welcomes me back with open arms. Penn State fans, I feel like, I remember being at UMass, dude, and getting like letters written to the UMass football facility from Penn State fans saying like, thank you for all you did for Penn State during a dark time in Penn State history. Like, we're rooting for you, and feeling that like support. Like, I left Penn State, you know what I mean? And like still when I come back and this place changed my life. I really think, you know, the time Christian and I went there, it was a dark time in Penn State history, and I really believe that there aren't many programs in college football that could survive what Penn State went through and come out on the other side as fast as they did and be in the national conversation in the top 10 programs in the country as fast as Penn State did. And it's a testament to the school, to the players and the team, but most importantly, it's really to the community, to the people that rallied around this place and how important this place is. You can feel it when you're around here. This place changed my life. I love it, and Penn State will always be my home.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why I stuck it out is for hearing guys like Hawk say what they said.
Yeah.
It's a special place. There's a lot of folks that care about it. It's cultish. Some people may not like that, but that's what makes us special. And, you know, for me, I had been gone and away from it because it's my personality for so long. But now having a kid, having a wife who came here, both of us, you know, playing sports here at some in our own capacities, it's just important to get back, man, and be home. And you can say that there's a lot of places that say that, but I do feel that Penn State lives that, and continuing to try to make an impact and having a platform to be able to do so, and finish the mission is big for me. So Adam pushing me to get back, and a lot of other guys pushing me to get back and here. So it just means a lot. And I think, you know, to your point, Hawk, like you said, like this team, and also tailoring off what you said, Adam, like what we went through, where we're at now, I don't think you could. There's maybe 3 or 4 programs in the country that could get to that point as quickly as we did. So it's a big weekend for us. You know, we're obviously here showing our support, you know, in person and in body, but you know, outside of that, it's just echoing what everyone said. You know, before me, after me, whatever my role was and whatever our role was, it's just important to hear guys understand what this program's really about and what these guys are really about, and continuing to live that beyond your playing years, and continue to give back to the younger generation of Penn State players, I think is vitally important. So I think it's what separates us.
I agree. Tell you one thing. In all seriousness, if Hack didn't go to Penn State, it would not be where it is.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
That is the God honest truth. And there's I think a lot of people forget about that. That there was if one person gets a lot of credit, it should be and I know a lot of guys like Maldy and those guys like the foundation.
There's a lot of guys that played a role in it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just fortunate enough to have had the support to stick it out. And it's not about that for me. Like I said, it's about hearing what Hawk said, because there was a decision to be made to come here initially, and then there was a decision to be made when we had some changes. And you know, again, I think it's about the DNA that makes up this Letterman group. And that's what's vitally important. And I think this fan base understands that for the most part. And just continuing to be about what has made this program great throughout history, not just recent history. We've experienced adversity in recent history, but previously and then in the future, and getting to where I think everyone wants the program to get to is the biggest part. And like I said, you know, when you can't take a snap anymore, when you can't line up in a 3-point stance, you know, you always try to figure out ways how to come home and continue to make it better. And you know, Hawk, you're doing a great job of that. AB, you've always done a great job of that. And I think, you know, I'm just trying to do my part, and I think a lot of guys are trying to do the same thing. So continuing to push everybody to be better is why we're here. So
love it. That's a wrap.
It's a wrap, man.
Appreciate everyone tuning in.